The Mason family's annual board meeting was always a spectacle of power and pretension, held in the top-floor conference room of Mason Technologies headquarters. 5 years ago, I'd stood in this same room, fresh MBA in hand, watching my Uncle Harold shred my job application. Today I was back. Not as Sarah Mason, the rejected niece, but as SM Industries' mysterious, their largest client, responsible for nearly $50 million in annual contracts. They just didn't know it yet. The quarterly numbers are strong, my cousin Peter announced, clicking through his PowerPoint presentation. Thanks largely to our biggest account, SM Industries. I hid my smile behind my coffee cup, remembering Peter's words from 5 years ago. Come on, Sarah, did you really think you were qualified to work here? Leave the real business to people who understand it. Uncle Harold nodded approvingly at his son. Excellent work, Peter. This is why we keep business in the capable hands of the family. Capable hands. I glanced at my tablet, reviewing the real numbers my inside sources had provided. Peter had been cooking the books for months, hiding losses, inflating profits. The only thing keeping Mason Technologies afloat was my company's contracts. Miss Morgan. Harold's assistant touched my arm. The board is ready for your presentation. I stood, smoothing my Armani suit, a far cry from the modest outfit I'd worn to my job interview years ago. Back then, Uncle Harold had said I didn't present the right image for Mason Technologies. Sarah. Peter's voice carried across the room as I walked to the podium. What are you doing here? This is a closed meeting. I turned to face the board, enjoying the confusion on their faces. I'm here representing SM Industries. I believe we have some contracts to discuss. Uncle Harold's face reddened. This is highly irregular. SM Industries so handles all major negotiations personally. Yes, I smiled. She does. The room fell silent as understanding slowly dawned. Peter's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. My cousin Amanda dropped her pen. That's impossible, Uncle Harold finally sputtered. You run a small consulting firm. We checked when you applied here. I pulled up my own presentation on the screen. Actually, that consulting firm was just a front. SM Industries, Sarah Mason Industries, is my real company. Has been for the past 5 years. The first slide showed my company's true financials. Revenue 3 times that of Mason Technologies, offices in 12 countries, a client list that read like a Fortune 500 directory. No, Peter stood up, his face pale. You can't be. We would have known. Would you? I raised an eyebrow. The same way you knew about the $8 million you've been hiding in creative accounting. The blood drained from his face. Behind him, board members started whispering. I've spent the last 5 years building SM Industries into what it is today, I continued calmly. While you were all congratulating yourselves on keeping me out of the family business, I was becoming your largest client. Uncle Harold's hands gripped the table. Why are you here now? I clicked to the next slide, a detailed analysis of Mason Technologies' dependence on my contracts. Because it's time to renegotiate our partnership. Though after reviewing your company's real performance, I'm not sure there's anything worth salvaging. You can't just walk away, Peter protested. Those contracts are up for renewal next week. I smiled. And as CEO of SM Industries, I have some concerns about Mason Technologies' stability. Your stability, cousin. The boardroom erupted in chaos. Board members demanded explanations. Peter tried to defend his numbers, and Uncle Harold sat in stunned silence, staring at the empire his rejected niece had built. I gathered my things, preparing to deliver the final blow. I'm calling an emergency meeting tomorrow morning. My team will present our full audit of Mason Technologies' books. I suggest you all come prepared. This is about revenge, Peter accused, his voice shaking. Because we didn't give you a job. I paused at the door, thinking about that day 5 years ago. The humiliation, the dismissal, the way they'd laughed at my ambitions. No, Peter. This is about business. Something you claimed I didn't understand. I checked my watch. The meeting's at 9. Don't be late, though punctuality never was your strong suit, was it? As I walked out, I heard the board members already turning on each other. Tomorrow would change everything for Mason Technologies. The company that had rejected me would learn exactly who they'd underestimated. My assistant Michael met me at the elevator. How did it go? Exactly as planned. I stepped in, pressing the button for the lobby. Is everything ready for tomorrow? Full audit reports, documentation of Peter's financial misconduct, analysis of how dependent they are on our contracts. He smiled. They won't know what hit them. I thought about Uncle Harold's face when he realized who really held the power now. About Peter's panic when his creative accounting was exposed. About all the years they'd spent believing I wasn't qualified to join their precious family business. Send me the latest draft of the termination notice, I told Michael. I want to review it before tomorrow. You're really going to cancel all the contracts? I smiled, thinking about the empire I'd built while they weren't watching. Tomorrow they're going to learn what real business looks like. And who's really qualified to run it. The next morning, I arrived at Mason Technologies an hour early. The building's security guard, the same one who'd once been ordered to escort me out after my failed job interview, practically tripped over himself opening the door. Welcome, Ms. Ms. Morgan, he stammered. The board is already gathering upstairs. Early for once, I murmured, stepping into the executive elevator. Amazing what the threat of financial ruin can do for punctuality. The boardroom was indeed full when I entered, the tension thick enough to cut. Uncle Harold sat at the head of the table, his usual commanding presence diminished. Peter huddled with the company's lawyers, his face ashen. The independent board members clustered together, shooting suspicious glances at the Mason family members. My team of analysts filed in behind me, each carrying detailed reports of Mason Technologies' true financial state. I'd spent 5 years placing key people throughout their company, gathering evidence, waiting for this moment. Good morning, I said pleasantly, taking my place at the podium. Shall we begin? Sarah, Uncle Harold's voice had lost its usual condescension, replaced by something close to desperation. Before we start, perhaps we could speak privately. I think we've had enough private family discussions. I nodded to my team. Please distribute the reports. The sound of papers being passed around filled the room, followed by sharp intakes of breath as board members began reading. This is impossible, one director muttered. These numbers can't be right. Oh, they're right, I confirmed, pulling up my presentation. Let's start with the creative accounting, shall we? Peter, would you like to explain why $8 million of losses were classified as operational expenses? Peter's lawyer tried to intervene, but I continued. Or perhaps we should discuss the inflated client numbers, the hidden debts, the fact that without SM Industries contracts, Mason Technologies is effectively insolvent. You're trying to destroy us, Peter accused, his voice cracking. Your own family. I raised an eyebrow. Family? Like when you told the entire industry I wasn't qualified to work here. Or when Uncle Harold said I'd never understand real business. That was 5 years ago. Uncle Harold protested. Yes, it was. And in those 5 years I built a company 3 times the size of Mason Technologies. While you were busy protecting the family legacy, I was creating my own. I clicked to the next slide, a detailed breakdown of how dependent they were on my contracts. 47% of your revenue comes from SM Industries, I noted. Revenue that will disappear when I cancel our contracts next week. The room erupted in chaos. Board members shouted questions, lawyers huddled together frantically reviewing documents, and Peter, finally showing his true colors, burst into tears. You can't do this, Uncle Harold stood up, his face red. We'll sue. On what grounds? I smiled coldly. That your rejected niece built a better company than you? That your son's financial fraud was discovered? Please try. My lawyers would love to depose Peter about those creative accounting practices. A senior board member cleared his throat. Mr. Mason, given these revelations, the board will need to discuss leadership changes. Leadership changes? Peter's voice rose hysterically. This is our company. Actually, I interrupted, after your contracts with SM Industries end, it won't be much of a company at all. I pulled out a thick envelope and placed it on the table. Inside you'll find 2 options. Option 1. Mason Technologies agrees to a complete restructuring. Peter resigns, the board appoints new independent leadership, and we maintain a scaled-down business relationship. And option 2? Uncle Harold asked quietly. I cancel all contracts immediately, alert the SEC to Peter's creative accounting, and watch Mason Technologies collapse. I checked my watch. You have 1 hour to decide. This isn't business, Peter spat. This is revenge. No, cousin. This is exactly what you taught me. Business was ruthless, unforgiving, and exclusively for those who are qualified. I gathered my things. I'll be in my office, the CEO's office you once said I'd never be good enough to occupy. I left them there, surrounded by evidence of their failures and corruption. Within minutes, my phone was flooded with messages. Mom, how could you do this to your uncle? Dad, the family name will be ruined. Various cousins, you've destroyed everything. I ignored them all and instead opened an old email, the rejection letter Uncle Harold had sent 5 years ago. Dear Sarah, while we appreciate your interest in Mason Technologies, we feel you lack the qualifications and business acumen necessary for our organization. Perhaps you should consider a less demanding career path. Sincerely, Harold Mason. I printed it out and placed it on what would soon be my new desk. The board, faced with undeniable evidence of Peter's fraud and the company's dependence on my contracts, would have no choice but to accept my terms. By sunset it was done. Peter was out, Uncle Harold had been forced into early retirement, and Mason Technologies would be restructured under my oversight. The family empire they'd thought I wasn't qualified to join would now answer to me. My assistant brought in a bottle of champagne as the papers were signed. Congratulations on your hostile takeover. Not hostile, I corrected, watching through my window as Peter and Uncle Harold cleared out their offices. Just business. Something they assured me I'd never understand. I picked up my phone, which was still buzzing with family messages, and typed a single response to their group chat. Don't worry about the family name. Mason Technologies is in qualified hands now. Then I turned back to my window, watching the sun set on my expanded empire. Sometimes success isn't about getting the job you wanted. It's about building something bigger than they ever imagined you could. And sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's becoming their boss. Uncle Harold had been right about one thing. I wasn't qualified to work at Mason Technologies. I was qualified to own it.